Now, whatever you do, don't push this button.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
That's right.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone!
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Vontae the First, the day portion of Mugen Eclipse.
And it's me, Mr. Twitchy, the night portion of Mugen Eclipse. We are here today with a special little surprise. We're going to have our first quote-unquote debate-style video on the channel. This is all after Chapter 223 of Undead Unluck. Was it planned? Or is it getting canned?
So, obviously, you guys know if you've been reading the manga, you don't have to watch our videos or streams, but if you read the manga, I know you've probably seen it on Twitter, YouTube, and all other apps and whatnot, of people being concerned about Undead Unluck potentially being canned. Or did Tozuka do this on his own? Is he just trying to move to what he wants to get to as quickly as possible? Or once again, is it because Jump is like, I don't know about this, because we already know how just how people view Undead Unluck and just, but we'll go into that in a second. So if you want to start off, Mr. Plan.
Yeah, so the Mr. Plan. So we came to these two different sides of the debate because of our community page. We had a poll go up, so go ahead and check that out. We do have polls quite frequently, mainly for this series, but we'll have some other ones moving forward. But the format of this video is primarily going to be, I'm going to list one topic why I think it was planned. Vontae is going to say one topic why he think it was canned. We'll just go back and forth until we run out of ideas, and then we'll talk about it at the end. But with that being said, my first reason why I think it was all part of Tozuka's master plan is because of the symbolism. So there are 8 celestial bodies, the 8 master superior rules that are now encircling Sun, and that is very representative of our own current universe. Now, if you remember when Uma Galaxy was previously introduced in Loop 100, that's when the culture of humanity was retroactively applied to match the rule. So this is very in line kind of with that solar universal type of mythos that accompanied Uma Galaxy, and it's just cool to see the 8 celestial bodies. Are we potentially going to get like domain expansions inside of each of those little spheres to where we can have our individualized fights? So that's my first reason.
So yeah, I just shortly before I get into mine, once again guys, this is from the poll. You guys already know, you guys voted, but this is just on both sides, objectively, just different things that we're bringing up, topics of planned or canned, and then obviously we'll say our own opinions about what we, think could be the case or couldn't be the case. But briefly though, before I get into my side, I think that would be pretty dope. The whole 8 different orbiting worlds or domain expansions, like you just said, of these Umas. I remember you even mentioned about like the whole health bar thing. That essentially, since it's like a game or a simulation, that you could look at it in that way, which I think makes a lot of sense too. So yeah, that's something that I can definitely see for sure. But I can't wait for this next chapter so we can really get a better feel, hopefully. But first thing I want to talk about is the poor table of contents situation. So Undead Unluck is on the lower end when it comes to table of contents, and also that has a lot to do with just people's enjoyment and the sales. The sales are also very, very poor for Undead. We talked about it a lot in our streams and videos when we're catching up with Undead Unluck, how this is such a great series but is severely underrated. It's a hidden gem. I've been seeing like a big Twitter account even reading Undead right now. He even said the same thing. I seen it earlier. I forgot what he said, but he was like, this series genuinely has a lot of different themes, layers, great characters, cast, story. Everything about this series is better than a lot of other series in Jump. But for some reason, it doesn't really resonate with people. And that has a lot to do with the first chapter early on in Undead, which, yeah, but it's still wild, though. I feel like people just didn't give it another chance. But, I mean, the sales speak for itself. Whether that's, I'm assuming, obviously, that has to do with, Japan over there. People just don't like the series as much for whatever reason. I don't know specifically, but I do know that a lot of people, from what I've seen within the community, that a lot of people just didn't really rock with Undead because of that early on. So I think it's going to be, that's my first point as to why I think it could potentially be canned, is because it's not doing well units wise and just the enjoyment. It doesn't seem like it's really well received.
That's a valid reason. At the end of the day, this is a type of media that gets consumed and thereby is held to a certain standard as it relates to sales. So if your series does not sell well, even from the jump, like you can get canned 18, 20 chapters in. I've seen it with a couple of series that I've been looking to jump into on the Shonen Jump website, just never did because they seem to be axing them quicker and quicker nowadays. Now, especially with the ending of JJK and My Hero, Undead's like one of the longer running series in the magazine if you exclude One Piece. So I can see it. Okay, next up, my second point is going to be the power scaling issue with Andy. Now, if you guys know anything about me, I do not like talking about power scaling. It's important in this series for a reason because it is tied directly to the plot. So Andy was able to single-handedly, using his soul powers, whether that's his soul powers or his soul powers and Victor's soul powers, to keep the Master 10 rules sealed within the sun to prevent them, much like Jui's did last loop, from coming to the earth and killing off the Union before it even gets started. They're looking for a validated world with nothing but the Umas. So Andy was able to do that by himself. So kind of connecting back to my first point, in which I think Andy and Fuko, maybe a couple other support people, are going to take on this master, let's just call it the master son version of an antagonist, while their comrades go into the spheres to fight their representative battles to decrease the shield levels of the Master Son to then be able to inflict damage on Master Son. Now, last loop, he was seemingly indestructible, did not take any damage that we saw. He was pushed back a little bit, he fell down, but he was able to pull out his leg from the ground, able to take like a hypersonic space laser that Nico created, and then took on a full rebellion to the face. So in terms of power scaling levels, what Sun was last loop was a feat, and what Andy did this loop was also a feat. So this is a good way to kind of even the playing field, and especially since Soul, we think, might be partially on our side, or at least, at the very least, he's against Luna.
I like that. It makes sense, like you said, like Andy's level up, and going back to what happened in Loop 100 with Sun itself, it would make sense for the Union to jump in, go against the Master Rules respectively, you know, ones that they can match up with, while Andy, Fuko, maybe somebody else will go and try to go for Sun. It'll be cool. It'll be pretty cool if Shin is a part of that group. Probably not. It's just I'm just thinking back to like his whole dream. But since this is one-on-one, his dream could be different now in a way, which it technically is. So either way, I think that would be pretty cool. That was a great point. The next one I'm gonna get into is actually one I'm gonna read a comment from another YouTube channel. Somebody commented on their review. When I seen this, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, man, it ain't looking too good. Obviously, we have to like fact check everything, but this person, it seems like they know what they're talking about, so it got both of us like, oh shit. I'm gonna put it on the screen right behind us. This comment, honestly, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I don't know how to say your name. It's Ruslan Hancharenko. I just want to give you your props, all right? 2179. Anyway, he talks about the editor-in-chief right now at Jump. He says the editor-in-chief holds a lot of power in that regard. So after leadership changed this summer, so from going from one editor-in-chief to the new one, from Nakano to Saito, this person said they started to get worried. They started to get concerned. Nothing indicated that he was particularly fond in Undead Unluck. JJK is ending, which it just ended yesterday, and One Piece is the only other big seller left in Jump currently right now. And this person says, so maybe he intends to flood the magazine with newcomers in hopes of their next big hit. And for that, he gets rid of old runners with not impressive sales like Undead and Yosakura Family, which Yosakura Family, I believe, that also has like a lot of chapters right now. If that's the case too, that's even more unfortunate because it's like you have two series that are both over like 200 chapters a piece, and it could potentially get canned because of this new regime or just this new goal. But anyway, and both of them are in their last arcs on top of that.
Yep. Apparently,
with Yosakura Family, and we obviously know what Undead. But it's and this person said anyway, but he just told them to wrap it up faster. Feels really disrespectful and unnecessary. It's desperate. Moves like this decrease fate and engagement with an entire magazine. Like people might start caring even less for newcomer series when even the veterans can get suddenly axed and not let their story reach full potential. So that is a big concern, because if you have a lot of series that are doing well in terms of like just existing for over like 4 years, 5 years, 200 chapters worth of manga, and then it gets axed. And I've been saying this for a minute too, regardless of the poor sales of Undead, the fact that it still has it's on chapter 223, regardless of the
give
sales.
It some flowers.
I always think like how do you disrespect it in that way? It's like, it reminds me of sports where somebody doesn't win like an individual award, but they have really good stats every year. It's like they're still like an all-star level player or a pro level player. They don't get their flowers, like you said. So that is something that's very concerning. And if that is indeed true about this new editor-in-chief and this is what they're thinking about, I wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of these figureheads and a lot of these companies, we've seen it time and time again, even in the anime side, you know, Mappa and how they roll, of just wanting to like monopolize anime and just gather a whole bunch of anime and don't care about the quality. All they care about is the quantity. They don't want to make money. They don't care what they're doing in terms of the art. They don't care if the quality is not there. They just want to get all these different projects to do them and release them. So this right here was the thing that really got me thinking, like, it might end up indeed being canned. Just thinking about all the stuff that's currently happening, if that is indeed true about newcomers, about wanting to have like a plethora of newcomer series versus not allowing your older series that are actually very lengthy, they have the longevity, and not letting them finish in the right way. I'm always an optimist, but I'm not gonna lie to y'all, this stinks. It stinks bad.
What's funny is I'm the eternal pessimist, so it's great that Avante and I have like these differing, you know, kind of motifs about us on the channel. But yeah, in my experience, I've been in the workforce now for over 12 years, and I have almost always encountered, when you get a new boss, they want to enact their management style and not just continue how the previous manager did it. They want to put their own spin on it. So if this is true, which I have no reason to believe it's not based on the articulation that was had, that there is a new editor-in-chief for the magazine, they're obviously going to want to do something different. They're going to want to leave their stamp on the magazine moving forward. So I could see them trying to get 3, 4, 5 different new series that become hits, and just by simply a numbers game, you just throw as many series out as you can at once that fit in the magazine. So if you especially have like an Undead Unluck that doesn't traditionally sell as well, that could be a problem moving forward. Okay, so my third point of why I think it was planned by Tozuka is that we've seen something similar in the last loop for Ragnarok especially. So Avante commented at the time that he thought the Nico development was quite rushed. And in hindsight, I do agree with him to a certain extent. I did personally like it maybe a little bit more than he did, but Tozuka was able to, again, retroactively write that in to where the end of the world is, it's supposed to be chaotic. It's supposed to be a free-for-all. It's supposed to be running around with a chicken like your head's cut off. So I think we're gonna get something very similar here, even if it is sped up a little bit. I think it's planned because Tozuka has done this before, and we recognize that with Ragnarok especially. I don't think this series is going to be over after we defeat Sun, especially now with the hint that Luna might be controlling him or created him or altered Sun in some form or fashion. She is able to boost up his power level. So her playing both sides of the game was always weird to me, and whenever you see something weird in storytelling, especially for manga that are very well grounded in how they reveal the plot twist, you know that something's coming. You don't know necessarily what, but you know that there's a reason for it. So because I think there's a reason for that Luna weirdness, I think there's going to be something after we defeat Master Sun and these master rules. I don't think this series is going to be ending as soon as a lot of people are.
I mean, it makes sense. Like you said, he's already had a track record of speeding up things when he felt like it. A lot of mangaka do have a lot of trouble with that when it comes to pacing and placement. So where you put a certain chapter in can also ruin the pacing of just the series in general. So I feel like Tozuka, he has a good track record in that. It's kind of hard to tell given, you know, some of this other stuff that we've been learning about the situation with the series, whether it's the poor sales, whether it's the whole new editor-in-chief. And my final point, which is the pacing. Haha, the pacing. So basically we're talking about the same thing right now, just on different sides. So the pacing, I feel like it is pretty concerning, because in these last 5-ish chapters, at the end of every chapter, even from Andy coming back and all the callbacks from like chapter 1 and a lot of earlier stuff, and then getting, because usually when you see that, you know you're in the final arc or a final saga whenever you get those kind of callbacks. But even more than that, like Ruin coming in, we end up defeating Ruin, getting him out of here, using the bad loop technique on him. And then Andy says that it's time for like the divine final war or whatever he said.
Total divine
I'm like,
warfare.
okay. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And you see all the master rules flying at the end of the chapter. You see them in the sky in the background. And then next thing you know, all of a sudden, Luna's like, not
Just
like
kidding.
that. And then they end up pretty much getting absorbed by Sun, which is something that I predicted a while back, but only if they were like, say like a few of them got defeated or something like that, or were about to, then he absorbed them like a typical antagonist would do with their underlings. But in this case, I'm just like, how did we go from us feeling like we literally did I think was it the week prior, we literally did a tier list talking about all the matchups against the Master Rules.
Oh my god, yes.
And then immediately within the next chapter, they get assimilated with Sun. Now they're just like around him. I don't know if he's using them for like a defense, like a barrier, or even for offensive attacks, maybe both. But I'm not excited for that if that is the case, because it's like that really just goes to show that this series is going to end fast. Because what happens? I mean, you have to get around that and just attack Sun. Sun would just be the big target right there, and you just have to be wary of the attacks that he's throwing at you. But once you defeat Sun, I'd assume that those Master Rules essentially die too, because I don't really see us fighting them after we defeat Sun. I feel like that's a little backwards. It could work in certain series. Stuff like that can work, but there's a reason why a lot of series don't do stuff like that. You know, we just went against Sun. He was our main antagonist in Loop 100. So for that to happen, where he's essentially, from our knowledge right now, even though it's kind of seems like there's a new development where Luna could potentially be controlling them, but Sun was literally like their god. He was the god, their god. So if we defeat him and then they are still there, that would be weird. And even if we do defeat him and then we kill them in the process, that entire cast of characters, that entire antagonist group was a waste. None of them were captivating or great except for Soul and Lon. I'm never going to throw Beast in there because Beast is kind of what he's supposed to be. You know, Beast, not much there. Not saying that he's bad or anything, but the rest of them had nothing. Just cool designs and nothing. So I hope that this decision, if this is his decision, like genuinely his decision, that he wants to, like you said for your last point, that he just wants to speed up to get to where he wants to get. I hope that that's the case, because if it's not the case, this series is definitely going to be done, because there's no reason to do that if it's not your own conscious choice, unless it's from the magazine, which, going back to the whole editor-in-chief situation, that sounds like it might be the situation, and I really hope it's not, but it's looking like it could be that.
Well, let me give you a little bit more hope, because I do have one more point on why I think it was planned, guys. So let's just talk about the anime for a sec. We've been talking about the manga all day, rightfully so, but I want you to just think about what anime is from an overall third-party perspective. It is advertisement for source material. The reason why you get anime adaptations of series is to increase the sales of the manga. So again, Undead Unluck has never really sold too particularly well, but we have not gotten into any of the content that Vante, I, or any of you watching might deem to be even quality Undead Unluck. Got some good stuff, sure. Fall, excellent. A lot of the stuff with Rip in foreshadowing, excellent, even though it isn't quite touched upon yet. But really, it's just the foundation of the series for season 1. We haven't gotten to winter. We haven't gotten to summer. We haven't gotten to spring. When spring comes, oh my god, when Ragnarok arrives for Loop 100, this winter special that we have coming up in January, which subscribe to the channel because we will be watching it and reacting to it, even though we read that portion of the manga. It's not even out yet. It's already been paid for. They're already working on it. They're not going to can that project now, even if the series gets canned. So it just would seem so short-sighted to me. And yes, I do see the editor-in-chief making this decision, again, coming from kind of a finance/sales world. The new boss wants to do it a different way than the last boss, but it would just be so short-sighted, especially when you have My Hero ending this year, JJK ending this year, you got Yozakura Family ending soon, Kaiju number 8 that is ending soon. It would be such a short-sighted and, in my opinion, an idiotic decision to cancel this series before you can let it get its footing. If you give Tozuka the pacing that he wants for this final saga, because that's what we're in, he is going to cook, because he already has been cooking since the last Ragnarok. I would argue that there has been maybe one subpar or bad volume in this series post volume 12 or whatever the spring one was. Yeah, essentially you have this cash horse in your barn and you just have to wait to let him out. It's the middle of winter. You can't go racing a horse in winter. That's a bad analogy. I don't race horses, so I wouldn't know, but hopefully you guys get my point.
Funny enough, a counterpoint to that is just the fact that, I mean, season 1, the promotion,
Oh,
It was
damn
garbage. It was pretty bad. Like, it's one of those things where, and especially if this is being sped up and it's not his decision and it's a higher up, that makes the anime even worse because now people are going to be like, oh, I'm not gonna watch this shit. I've already heard a lot of bad stuff. And even if that's not the case, say it's actually gonna end great, everything's gonna be fine. But the fact that this controversy and this talk even came up because every other series recently, JJK, My Hero, a lot of series, even outside of Jump and other magazines and whatnot, a lot of these,
for the endings.
Yes, exactly. So even the moment that people saw this on Twitter for the last few days, past week or so, a lot of people who don't even give a shit about the series, they seen that, and of course they're going to slander. And of course, that's just idiotic fans. People are just going to do what they, people slander stuff just cause. But at the end of the day, two things are a fact. One, season 1 didn't do that well when it came to the promotion. And two, the sales for the manga itself isn't doing that well either. So that you kind of can't even be mad at like other people for criticizing the series. Other than the figurehead, the editor-in-chief, that's the only person I would say, if it is indeed true that he's not going to allow this series to finish off strong, the highest that it could possibly be, like with Tozuka, that we think that Tozuka would have done, then that's bad. That's probably out of all the points on my side, that would be the one thing that I'm really concerned about is just the whole direction switch up. And like you said, it makes sense. Someone who's now the person in that position is going to try to change the entire format, the entire formula, and do their own thing, put their own stamp on it, like you said earlier. But at the same time, it's like, you still got to make good decisions. Just because you make a different decision from the last one doesn't mean that yours is any better. And then what's going to happen once you get replaced? Think about, oh, he sucked. He actually ruined our entire catalog.
Fan beloved series. Yeah, exactly.
So but ultimately though, for just both points, I'm always, like I said, I'm always an optimist. I'm looking at a lot of these different concerns. I feel like a lot of the cons that I pointed out I think they're very valid. Criticisms and just like on your side with the whole playing situation. But I'm an optimist, like I always say. So that's what I truthfully feel, that Tozuka is going to end it the best that he possibly could, regardless if it's the magazine rushing him or not. I think he's capable, but this story could have ended even better. And I feel like either way, whether it's his decision or the higher up, this series is being rushed.
This feels a little different in that, as far as we know, unless there's some more story in the validated loop thereafter, this is it. There's no second chances, there's no third chances, 101st chances. This is literally it. Now, as I said earlier, I'm more of an eternal pessimist myself. So it's kind of ironic that you guys chose Vante to do the doom and gloom and for me to do the uplifting, motivational type of debates. But genuinely, we would love to have a whole bunch of more discussions in the comment section, so please leave us a comment on what you feel. I feel like, much like Vante said, there is some validity to both sides of this argument, and before chapter 223 came out and I read it, I didn't get that impression. I didn't get the impression that Tozuka was rushing it to the end. Now it's kind of hard to argue that he's not rushing it.
Once again, it's hard to tell, but I trust Tozuka. A lot of people trust their favorite mangaka, especially the more renowned ones, but Tozuka, he hasn't really let us down much in this series whatsoever. The only times that, like you said, there's only like maybe one volume after spring that was like and then in season 1 there were probably some stuff that was like really early on, like the first arc and the first 2 arcs or so. But other than that, 93% of the series, throwing out a number,
incredible.
But yeah, like 93-95% has been really good. So, people are going to slander, say what they want to say, but we hope for the best because that's what we do over here. We always hope that every series that we have been covering does well because we want to just enjoy the series. Who doesn't want to enjoy their series or any series that they're watching? So that's pretty much all I got on my end.
So if you guys enjoyed this, different type of debate style, quote unquote, make sure you like the video down below, subscribe to the channel for more content coming up. We will be here when the anime returns in January and season 2 next year. We got the Dandadan in a couple weeks. We have Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, a couple weeks. Maybe maybe some Uzumaki on the... Who's to say? I'm just saying. But yeah, as Vante likes to say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay clean. We'll see you in the next stream or video. Peace.